Now we're coming out to the ear here, and it's not a good idea to really come out where there's a point, where there's going to be a point. But this point, I think, is going to be connected a little bit. But you see there's material that's backing up this point. So I can run my chisel up to that point without fear of breaking the tip off. Now, if there was nothing back here to stop my chisel, then I'd have to worry about the tip of this ear breaking off. But right now, I don't have to. Now we're looking at the other ear, and we don't really have anything back in this ear up because I've cut it away in the roughing out process. So I'm going to start from the tip and go in. Well, we got the head roughed in, and so we really kind of have a starting point now on this carving. Now we know that his arm and his shoulder go back in a lot further than what I have here. So I need to bring the plane of his bicep and his shoulder and his elbow. I need to bring that back down. And his hand is actually going to be coming out further than his elbow and his shoulder and his bicep, and it's going to be kind of resting on this little crocket here. So we know that the hand is back further than the crocket, and we know that everything else is back behind the hand. So the hand is the next closest point to the outside of our carving that we need to come to. But we have to keep in mind that the crocket is even out further because he's coming out, he's hiding behind these foliated features right here. I'm kind of playing this by ear. I've got these crockets coming up around here and around here, and I've sort of roughed in some others that are kind of decoration. I don't want to make it too busy. That's could be a problem. Next I'm going to rough in this leg And this guy's probably a little bit bigger than this guy, and that's okay. It's a little bit different posture, but that's fine. So that's what I'm doing at this point. In here, where we're doing the right paw, just like in here, we want to carve the details before we get the background, because we want to have stone backing up what we're carving so that our chisel doesn't break it off. If there's nothing behind what we're carving and it's sort of hanging out in the air and we're carving it, there's no stone behind it, there's nothing to stop our chisel from breaking the tip off. So it's a sort of a precautionary thing that you do while you're carving. Now this little guy, he's kind of making a fist here, and that's just the way the original carver did it. You know, and it's kind of cool looking, so that's what we're going to do. Another thing I want to mention is that these old-time carvers that were working on these buildings, they had to be fast, and they really couldn't mess around. They were under the gun just like everybody else to produce. And so a lot of novice carvers tend to think, well, they're a little bit shy about using their tools. These tools, I mean, you have a tendency to think, well, I'm going to carve this thing and then I'm going to carve it. No, you're going to carve it with the tools that you have, and those tools are going to leave marks that are the carving. So that's the thing that really a novice carver has to get through their head. You're going to make a carving. Let's say you're going to have a tooth texture on it. Well, you could get it down to a certain depth, but you don't want to go all the way down to it. You want to go all the way down to it with your claw tooth chisel, because that's the kind of finish you want. You don't go down to the finished surface with the smooth surface and then use the claw tool, because then you're carving and then you're recarving. So that's what a point I wanted to get across. I want to talk about some of the specialty tools that that are available. You could have them made. If you take a close look at this, it's bent. You see how it's bent? And it's bent in such a way that you're able to get back into places and carve not perpendicular, but back into it to create depth and shadow, and that's what we call undercutting. And a good way to do that is to use a hooked tool like this one. So we're going to use this behind his little paw here. I think first, though, we're going to put a little more detail between the fingers if we can get it, because we want to make sure that these are cut before we relieve the background. so we don't have a chance of breaking things.